All right, hello everybody. My name is Dylan Rogers. I'm the car shop foreman here at the Durango and Silverton Narrow Gauge Railroad. We're standing out in front of the car shop here. This is the building where we do all of the work on all the rail cars. We've got an active fleet of 54 revenue rail cars that we work on here. Progressively down through the shop. On the front end up here is where we'll do the mechanical work, progressing down to where we'll do the large overhauls on the interiors of the cars into our industrial size paint booth, and then all the way out to the back. We're working on a contract restoration project right now. We've got a full wood shop as well to do any of the projects that we need to, and a welding shop in the back as well. So we've got 15 full-time employees working in the shop, between the mechanics and the carpenters, and everybody will share the responsibility doing the in and outbound safety inspections of the trains as well. So 15 people taking care of the whole fleet, start to finish.
What percentage of the time is dedicated to preventative maintenance and the rest to complete rebuild?
So each car will come in the shop once a year. Usually it'll take between 4 days and a week to fully go through the car for its preventative, regular scheduled maintenance. And then when we take a car down for a full restoration or rebuild, we're looking anywhere from 6 months to a year, depending on what's needed at the time. We can work on 4 cars at one time inside this building here. Well, I guess 5 now. We can work on one actually where we're standing. It's a new addition. So typically we'll have one in for an overhaul at any given time, and up to 2 in for maintenance usually is what we'll try and do. Right now we've actually got 2 in for overhauls, 1 in for a contract project, and 1 in for maintenance already.
And how long have you been with the railroad?
I've been with the railroad. This is my 12th year. I've been in the car shop for full-time for 2.5 years.
Excellent. Thank you.
I don't know how it would have overheated. It's like 60 degrees outside.
Die?
Well, doesn't one of these have a gauge on it over here?
What's up?
I thought one of these air connections had a gauge on it. I guess not. What do you need here? More to clear? I think that'll come out.
I think it will too.
Yeah.
I don't want to crush the can right now.
Money.
This is the one truck out of coach 336. It's getting some servicing. It had a hot journal, a hot box, commonly called. So we pulled it out, and that'll get replaced. You have to inspect the axle on that truck, or on that wheel set, and also replace the bearing. Which is, of course, as the main line's found, that's one good thing about replacing roller bearings is you don't have to worry about hot boxes. So this is one of the trucks out of the 126 car. It's in the paint booth. You can see what a truck looks like, a modern steel passenger truck looks like for us. These are, in place of the old rollers, most of our cars have these neat constant contact side bearings. What you do is these ride on a plate, these compress against a plate constantly on either side, just a little bit. And that allows the car not to rock as much as it's going down the track. The rollers, which we have some as well on those cars, you have to leave a gap on that roller, so it gives it more play. It rocks a little more. So it does give it a little better of a ride for our passengers. But you can see how that's done with that outside of the car. And then in the center bowl there's a pin that goes up into a matching bowl on the bolster of the car, and that just sits out inside. The pin holds it, and that's all that holds that car on this truck, really. These chains are on the corners are just there in case the truck car derails to kind of keep the truck with the car, but they don't really serve any other function. Okay, here we have two gondolas, both built around the same era in the 1980s. They both have Bettendorf trucks. However, this one has been converted to roller bearings, and the other one still has the plain bearings on it. The conversion to roller bearings is slowly going on. In some cases on the passenger cars, we have to build portions or brand new trucks. This one, we just have to cut the journal box area larger and make a conversion with a wedge, and that fits right in there. So it's a really simple conversion on these Bettendorf trucks. We only have at present 3 coaches, or 1 coach and 3 gondolas with this style truck on it now at the railroad. The coach being the 503, which we recently purchased from the Cumbres and Toltec, and it now has roller bearings on its Bettendorf trucks as well. So this is an old style stem winder brake wheel that we have on and has had on our coaches for years and years and years. This is original style, still remains on our coaches, many of our coaches, but on our gondolas we've been taking them off and replacing them with a more modern Ajax type brake, which is safer and easier to use and gives you actually a much better handbrake, stronger handbrake. So I'm not sure if we'll be taking these off the coaches because there really isn't room for that kind of a brake here. Ironically, what's fun is some of these old wheels must have come from a different brake wheel setup that says do not use brake club, but we have to use a brake club to tie these down. So when I describe an Ajax brake, that's just a brand of this kind of handbrake. This style is just what's used today on most main lines. It's safer to use because you can stand on the car on the ground and turn it this way until it tightens nice and tight. Gives you a much better quality set on your brake. And so this is how we're converting the gondolas by adding this metal frame to the side, to the end here, and putting on something that turns the chain at a 90-degree angle.
What part of the car is this?
This is a rod that runs as part of the foundation brake rigging on the 411 gondola here. And you see one of the things we have is pretty common is this kind of a wear you get from these things. There's so little room in narrow gauge cars that all this stuff is close together, and that's been rubbing up against one of the wheels or the axle, probably a wheel, and so it's something we watch as the car operates, and when we get an opportunity like this, it comes in for servicing, we'll try to fix that up or adjust where it rides so it doesn't wear as much. So what you're seeing here is a combination car 211. This is an original Rio Grande car that is a contract project for us for the Hinsdale County Historical Society on Lake City, Colorado. They came to us and asked us, could we rebuild their car? Not to operate, but basically to operating specifications and inside and out. And we said, sure. So we started talking about, putting together a plan, multi-stage plan based on their ability to raise grants.
Well, basically, we were looking at this car 3 years ago, It was up in Lake City. When it looked at it, they want it restored to the original of 1923 in the 20s. So we got the car the following year, and we have started restoring this car as close as possible the way it was back in the 20s. And that's where we're at now on this. We're in the second year of restoring this car for them.
Yes, for
That's on a grant. We do it grant by grant. We only do sections at a time according to what they have on the grant.
Yes. So the work that we've completed thus far is we've done the full exterior paneling, which you can see the mahogany here. But before we did any of the upper work, we had to do a full side sill replacement. Both end sills were replaced, brand new platforms, and then this side sill we had to splice in a repair at the far end corner.
And in this corner also.
And at this corner as well. This whole side of the car will be replaced with new material, and then this side of the car is all going to be original material refinished in place.
Key part of the structure are these queen posts here, we call them. These pieces that connect the upper sill and the lower sill and helps hold the roof together. These steel down rods also are integral to holding that all together.
It keeps any of the sway out of the body of the car, and it just transfers the load from top down. You can see right here this double roof rib, and what that is it's actually supporting a car line that you can see right here, and it goes all the way up over. It's one solid piece that joins the roof of the car from side to side, and that's actually what is holding the load of the clear story. So it's moving the weight down into the tombstone.
You can see though in these car lines there's also some steel rods or bars that run through, and you see that in our coaches as well. They were sandwiched between the wood like that onto the body down here. So all that's holding the car together.
Yes, this is the tombstone, and this a combine typically wouldn't have had a tombstone here. It would have had the bracing that goes all the way up. This car originally started life as a coach, so to accommodate a window that would have been here, it has a tombstone here, and that's actually taking the weight of the car and putting it right over the bolster.
So what that will do is pick up this end. It will help carry that end up and collapse it. When they hit it with knuckling and de-knuckling and stretching the car, it will loosen all that up. This rod, tombstone, because it's sitting right over the steel bolster here, will keep that from getting loose.
No dead bodies.
No dead bodies.
Yeah.
That we have found.
Yeah.
This is once again the attachment that was originally used in this coach, and then
Morrison tenon with a screw here. They'll keep this from opening up and closing.
Yeah.
Tied it all together. Then you got a big 3-inch screw that goes into the stop plate back here.
Yeah.
Which ties this all together.
And everything in the clear story is all mortised and tenon. These little posts are mortised into both the sill and the plate.
This was the baggage section. This is where the stove was, and the original car had some extra supports here, so they put those in as well above the stove. That'll all be metal sheathing around it as well, probably. There was a wall right here in the middle of the car with the door, and this back end was the passenger section along with the restroom. Kind of see where some of that will go. Hopefully all that will get rebuilt, time and money permitting.
The bracing here changes in this area right here due to a gas lantern that would have originally hung here, and we'll eventually be put back in there by the Hinsdale County Museum. Those were notched just so it would take the bend a little bit easier. These were cut out of a single piece of wood, but these were notched and placed in because that's the way it was originally done on the coach.
Once this gets cut out for the gas lights in here, then this all gets tongue and grooved. That's what all this extra support is in here. That all gets tongue and grooved before we put the lid on.
And that's to support the weight of the fixture.
You know the ages?
1881, yes.
1881. Interior wood for the passenger side is going to be ash. All strictly ash. It's going to be stained and varnished, clear coat. We'll have a Doug fir floor. We'll replace this. We'll go on top of this with Doug fir, tongue and groove. The baggage side, this panel, this divider wall, right here, there'll be a door right here. This will all be stained and finished. The other side will be painted. So from the baggage door area, it's all going to be painted, and it will be Doug fir in there.
And it should also be noted that this whole wall will be the original wall out of the car. We still have all the pieces for it. That we will be reinstalling the original pieces back in the coach, as well as the door.
Here you can see multiple projects going on. The 42 tender is having some beams replaced on it. They just got that coupler on today on this end beam. So they're trying to get that put back together.
Brackets here didn't move. So it doesn't. These were all straight on there. And the same height. So.
Yeah, I would just put a wood block.
That's what I'm trying to see if it was shit.
Maybe it was.
I did not take this off, so I don't know.
Oh, I bet it was, but the wood was probably so wrong.
This is the body up the 42 tender. And what we're doing is these two outside sills and the end sills were rotted out. So we're in the process of replacing these sills right now, putting all the hardware back on, reinforcing it where it needs to be reinforced. And then we'll have to redeck it. We'll be putting new decking on there, and in about a week we'll be sitting the tender back on it and getting it painted, and it'll be ready to run.
How long have you been working on it?
We've been the second week of July.
Yeah. How long do you expect it to take to finish?
We gotta have this wrapped up for them to set the tender on next Monday.
Yeah,
So we basically got 4 more days to get this wrapped up.
How long have you been working with the railroad?
26 years.
Like 8 months.
Introduce yourself, Joshua.
Yeah, I'm Joshua. I've been here for like almost a year now.
Yeah.
Year in September. So,
Great.
but yeah.
Well, thank you both.
You bet. Thing was a bear. One about tipped the Kubota over.
Work part-time. Work part-time. Hi, we're in the car shop's paint booth, and the car behind me is Concession Car 126. It originally was a baggage car for the Denver and Rio Grande Western for many years. And if you look back at the old pictures of the Silverton trips, 50s, 60s, 70s, you'll see it on the consist as a baggage car. Rio Grande rebuilt it with new metal siding and put windows in the sides, I believe in the 60s or 70s, 1970s in Denver. And now it's undergoing another rehab. We are we replaced the wood siding that was on the ends that the Rio Grande left because the wood was worn out. Replaced the doors, put in some new stuff in the ceiling there. Replaced the platforms on both ends. So we're building new steps, new end sills, the platform decking. We're also replacing the couplers. This had the old style Janny couplers on it, which are restricted. We have those on several cars. That's a they work fine, except that they are a little smaller, so there's a replacement restriction on those cars of no more than 7 cars from the rear of the train. For a concession car, which runs in the middle of a longer train, that creates some problems for passengers walking too far, to the middle of the train for the concession car. So that we're replacing the couplers on each end of this car, the draft gear and everything, to allow us to place this car anywhere in any train we want to. Get inside. Tell you what. So we're inside concession car 126 now, and you can see they've pretty much completed the inside rehabilitation of this car. We're inside concession car 126. They've completed the interior restoration of this car and actually improved it quite a bit from what it looked like before. Um, it's hard to describe what it looked like before, but we're adding in these baggage doors on each side of the car here. The original car, of course, had baggage doors in the center. We're making this more like the 212, our old combine car, and putting them on the ends. We're putting those doors in not just for historical, the look, but mainly as a functional thing for the warehouse crews that stock the car every morning, and also so we can get equipment like refrigerators in and out a lot easier. This car had it had masonite and metal paneling on most of the car, and that was pretty much worn out. So we replaced that with nice wood paneling, and all the stuff up here got rejuvenated. We took off the metal panels up here, and we found old wood like this, tongue and groove wood. That was all full of old paint and stuff, so we tore that out and replaced it with this, so it has that. That's what it looked like originally. Also, we took out the old 1970s look, bathroom lights, and these little lights here are pretty cool. Those came out of the 330 series cars that were built in Burnham in the 1960s. They were cleaned up, and because we took them out of those cars to put speakers in, and so we started putting those back into the cars in different places, like here. I believe it's kind of an Art Deco look, probably from the 1930s. I imagine Burnham just having it hanging around and put them in the cars in the 1960s. So gives it a definite piece of class.
Okay.
We're at the other end of the 126. One thing we found as we rehabilitate the various cars for our use in the daily service, we spent a lot of time working with the concessions department and with the people that actually use the cars the concessionaires, the car attendants, and the premium cars. And so we get their information, what they want in terms of storage, in terms of where things are located, and they're constantly in a state of flux a little bit. So these new closets down here are all designed with their input to try to make their work and the train crews work every day on the cars a little bit easier. But we've added a lot of details like the wood going across these car lines here. That was added just to kind of dress it up a little bit. Like I said, it has a brand new vinyl floor, and the counter's been varnished about 6 times. So there you go. This is a Coach 332, another project from this winter or spring that's extended into summer. This is one of this 330 series of cars that were built in the 1960s by the Rio Grande and Burnham in Denver at the caboose shop. It just was worn out. You know, it's been rebuilt over the years. In this case, we've replaced the flooring on it, taken the little paneling and trim off, and either sanded, restained, varnished what we can, or actually replaced and done that. Up on top on these cars, we've been taking out the old lights, which are still, every other one is still an old light that the Burnham had put in place. These have been cleaned up and are now hooked up to a 12-volt battery, so they're actually functioning.
And why the insulation?
This car really wasn't insulated very well, and so we're adding new insulation as we do each of these cars, because we do run them in the wintertime, and that helps a lot with the heat retention, keeping the car free from freezing at night, which is always a concern. So it's getting new wiring, new LED lighting. These boxes up top are for good quality speakers, JBL speakers that we use during Polar Express. And each of the cars that we redo inside, we're trying to replace those with 4 speakers so that everybody gets a nice even sound for the show that they put on. A silly little modelers maybe thing or historical thing. This shop, if you look at the original car shop, used to always have ladders running up to the roof. I always wondered why. Then after working here for several years, realized that this location, you tend to get little tornadic type winds, cyclone winds, and they'll rip the panels of these buildings right off. An example of the power of these winds, if you look at this box car right here, that brake staff, the wind did that one summer. It actually bent that brake staff, that big steel rod over. So I think those ladders were basically to put the tin back on the building every time the wind would blow it off. That is Coach 256 from the Rio Grande Southern. That car used to be a Dolores for many years, went to Como for a little while, and then we bought it, and it'll be one of our coaches eventually. So this, you ready?
What do we have here?
This is a cab off one of the K37s, 490 something. I don't remember which number. It's sat up in Hermosa for years and years, And instead of getting scrapped, it got brought up here to be used at a Polar Express event, and eventually ended up behind the roundhouse as their little barbecue shack. So if you look inside, you can see where they would be making the weekly lunch for everybody.
What's your specialty?
I don't know if I really had one. So here we have some new castings and parts that are lined up for getting used. These are pedestals for roller bearing trucks for passenger cars. They're a little bit different design that we've had cast. We'll see some more parts for those back at the car shop. That's this and this. I believe this is a back head sheet for a steam locomotive. It's a new one. You see how the edges have been turned and formed and the holes drilled for the flues. So that they got two ready to go there. These are spring plank hangers for those new roller bearing trucks I was talking about. And those are the adapters for the roller bearings themselves that ride in those pedestals there. So here you have a good number of parts. And over here, this is kind of fun. You have a clamshell door for a coal-fired engine, which no longer is necessary here.
What are we looking at here?
Oh, here we have just shelves of spare parts for the coaches and gondolas. There's brake heads and lots of plane bearings, some adapters, plates for roller bearing trucks, and some side bearings. Lots of various little parts and pieces. This would be typical for a car repair shop anywhere. The new women's, you can walk in. This is the new women's locker room and restroom. And a shower.
Nice upgrade.
Yeah. You're clear. Move it in.
That's why I didn't go in there.
Then we have the old break room. And
metal shop, I think. Metal.
Nice.
In the office. Good. How are you? Good. Cody asked me to pass along the cars at the shop. Yeah. Just want to show you.
Morning.
Morning, how are you?
Good.
Hey, John, how are you?
We're in the Carpenter shop. As you can see here, we're talking about those lateral rails coming off from the main track through here. You see them going all the way down there. So the idea was they could swing that coach in here, but of course you need space for all your machines and work in here, so that just wouldn't have worked. In here you see all the different woodworking tools, things that the carpenters will do to make whatever, doors, windows, sinks here, all kinds of fun stuff getting built for various projects. Also next to us, you'll see the paint booth. This paint booth here was added after the car shop was built. It accommodates an entire car. This is where I do some of my work as well. And we can isolate a car in here and paint it. We also do a lot of other work inside, like sand. We're sanding a car, that 126 now, to get a paint job.
Do you live? Do you live?
I did. It's in my car.
Beginning 139, and that's at the event park, ending at 210, over.